Hold it right there. Are you still on NoFap? Are you still out here counting the days on your calendar, still struggling to get to those 90 days? Are you still in that cycle of feeling good that you're getting on a high streak, relapsing, feeling like crap, and then spending a few days to recover, then feeling good for a bit again until your next relapse? I believe it's time to stop with all of this NoFap stuff. Sort of. I think all of us who have struggled or keep struggling with pornography and masturbation and have chosen to do NoFap in the end miss the actual purpose of it all and get stuck in what I like to call the NoFap mentality. So if you're doing NoFap and you believe it's the greatest thing ever, I'm here to challenge those views a bit, coming from a person who's been doing this for around 4 years. NoFap is just not what you think it is. Before we get into my points, I just want to let you know that I'm not going to sit here and say that being addicted to pornography and masturbation is healthy and we should normalize this behavior. Hell no. My point is that you should completely quit porn, but when it comes to just masturbation, I think you shouldn't be so quick to dismiss it, and here's why. My first argument is that feeling the want to release that sexual energy, especially for men, is very natural. Actually, both genders need to release that built-up sexual energy one way or another. That's just human nature. And notice that I use the word need, not want. See, it's easy to confuse pornography and just masturbation as the same thing. When we are on NoFap, we learn to associate both of these things with just one word: relapse. You watch porn, you relapse. You masturbate, you relapse. The word relapse sounds very bad, like we fail, like we're back at the start. And it's fine if we're using this in the context of porn consumption. But you turn on porn when you want it, you're addicted to it. You masturbate when your body and mind needs it. In the past, I thought that you can release sexual energy through things like being productive at your work or working out and so on. However, through experience and learning, I realized that sexuality is its own dimension with its own ways of how to deal with it. Why? Because no matter how much you are productive at your work or working out or doing habits like cold showers and stuff like that, that is usually recommended when doing NoFap to avoid urges, your brain and your body will find their own ways of how to release this sexual energy. You might have noticed that when you're on NoFap, you experience way more urges and way more wet dreams. Wet dreams, which means that you have a sexual release in your sleep in particular, are literally your system's own way of saying, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it for you. It's an evolutionary thing that is not as controllable as you might think. That's also the reason why almost nobody in the NoFap community is able to beat this so-called addiction, and that results in just living with that NoFap mentality. It can seem that no matter how long you go on a streak, in the end you still relapse, but then you kind of recover and then say to yourself, okay, with this new mentality, okay, I'll just do it again this time. So you live in this state of tracking days, and your general mood then depends on if you're on a high streak or if you recently relapsed or if you're in this constant frustration of feeling urges all the time. This NoFap lifestyle is not particularly good for you in the long term, as you never move on from it, and as you depend on it more and more, you're just never able to get out to that healthy state of mind. Another argument for why you should quit porn but allow yourself to masturbate from time to time is that NoFap keeps you on the edge. What I mean by this is that when you go on for long periods of no release in the sexual energy, well, until wet dreams do it for you, is that you're constantly living in this state of frustration. When you are not feeling urges, life is great. But if you are a man, especially if you are a young man who also works out, testosterone will make it that you feel urges pretty much daily. Then when those urges come, that's it. And now you're living in this state of discomfort, and not productive discomfort, but you're just worrying about, oh, if now I'll masturbate, then I'll lose the benefits, or I'll just reset the streak and so on, like thoughts like that. This frustration actually gives you way more urges than you would otherwise receive, and actually pushes you to seek sexual encounters and sexual release with real-life women. That's great, you might be thinking, but trust me, if you go on dates with women and all you can think about is sex, because of being on NoFap for so long, you won't be able to focus on actually building a healthy relationship, but you will seek more of those one-night stands, and you will just view women more as sex objects and less as people. One-night stands are pretty much the same as porn, but with a lot more risk and almost zero benefits, as you just use up each other's bodies with no real deep meaning. And being on NoFap can increase the likelihood that you will seek these casual sexual encounters.
There's good and bad. The good thing is sex will be way more pleasurable. The bad is it'll be way more desirable. So, like, to mitigate your sexual urges, so you don't do stupid things and hang out with stupid people and have sex with people you don't really like but you think are hot because you're horny.
Yeah.
And they're willing, which is a lot of people. They get roped up in these relationships with these guys and gals that they're not really in love with, but they like to fuck.
Right.
You know?
My last point is that being on the NoFap mentality is not a good long-term strategy. For people who are addicted to porn, not masturbating to it for a few days feels awesome, and that's where the most hype of NoFap comes from. You do feel great when you're not degrading yourself by escaping into this fantasy sexual world. However, if you're also against just plain masturbation, doing it long-term again creates frustration for your body and mind. I think this graph illustrates it pretty well. When you begin doing NoFap, you quickly notice benefits in the first week or so, like more motivation, focus, and energy. But over time, with the increase of the mentioned frustration, the benefits wear off, and you actually begin to experience negative effects like less motivation, less focus, and less energy, as you almost always are occupied with the thoughts of releasing that sexual energy. On the other hand, if you quit porn but allow yourself to masturbate from time to time when you feel that you need it, you can see the increase in benefits at the start, and over time you see a steady and balanced lifestyle. With this, let's get more into how to develop this sexually healthy lifestyle. So first, as I said just now, quit porn and only masturbate when you actually need it. This means not masturbating whenever you want to, but doing it only then when you feel that urges are overwhelming you and are inhibiting your quality of life. This is the main foundation of this type of lifestyle. For it to become a lifestyle though, you need to get rid of this NoFap mentality. No more day tracking, no more thinking about NoFap, just living life. Well, okay, you can track your progress of no porn if you have a problem with that, but aim for no tracking at all for the long term. Develop this new mentality of engaging in masturbation as a biological action, which it is, and stop blaming yourself as you have learned to do well when being on NoFap. And if you are worried about developing or redeveloping erectile dysfunction, which may be the reason you started NoFap in the first place, don't worry. Erectile dysfunction, which is so prevalent amongst men nowadays, I believe it comes exactly from pornography. When you trick your brain into releasing sexual energy in the fake world of porn, of course, you will struggle to perform in real life when you see that sex is completely different. But if you just masturbate whenever you need to, trust me, you won't have adverse effects like ED. The last thing you should aim for with all of this healthy sexual lifestyle stuff is to get into a healthy long-term relationship. The sexual urges we feel come from our biology and our need to reproduce. Getting into a relationship, loving another person, and building a family is something that is programmed in us, and this sexuality is a motivator for us to seek that. However, don't seek one-night stands. They are not good for you, as I already mentioned. Still, you might not be convinced, as at least one-night stands happen in real life and require some work, not like pornography. Well, it's not that simple. And if you want to learn more about the corruption of this casual hookup culture that we live in nowadays, check out this video.